Hello, scumbags. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and this is Unleashed. We are taking off the leash. We're talking about bad stuff. And by bad stuff, I mean bad people. And by bad people, I mean Uncle CVP, Mr. Palpatine, the Emperor of the Galaxy himself. James asked me to put together an Unleashed because it's fitting. It's fitting for the given moment in time. Guys, we saw that trailer for the Rise of Skywalker at Celebration. We saw the unbelievable footage, the unbelievable photos. Again, it's beautiful. Everybody looks like an action figure. Dio is this cool little green droid. There's a Death Star. Daisy Ridley looks so cute and white. She's just a beautiful lady. And Oscar Isaac and Finn look so good in their costumes. They're beautiful men. Like, it is just a beautiful looking movie all around. And then to top it all off, we have the cackle to end all cackles. We have the trailer ending with the Emperor laughing. And just to put a button on that moment, who should walk out on stage but Ian McDiarmid, asking us all to roll it again. And then he rolls it again. That was one of the greatest moments of Star Wars fandom in my life. I can say that without hyperbole. So the point of this Unleashed is just sort of a personal perspective from me, a guy who has gone on record on this channel multiple times and said that Mr. Palpatine is my favorite character in Star Wars, probably my favorite villain of all time too. So what does this mean for me? And I'm sure I'm not alone. I know, there are other YouTubers out there like Christian Harloff has stated that Palpatine's his favorite character. I'm sure many of you would classify Palpatine as your favorite, or at least maybe in your top 5, who knows. So what does this mean for me as a person who loves Palpatine so much? What does his return make me feel like? First and foremost, his return being touted at the end of the teaser trailer was like something out of a dream. Like, it really was. It spoke to me personally, and I can't really replicate that feeling again. That was lightning in a bottle feeling for me. I'm already excited to see a Star Wars thing, but then you add the Emperor to that, and it just reaches a whole other level. And I equate it to this, okay? This is what I equate it to. I have one of my best friends in the whole world. He is a huge fan of soccer. He was born in Lisbon, Portugal, so he supports the Portuguese soccer team. And, every time there's a Euro Cup or a World Cup or even just like an important game, he is there ready and willing to support Portugal. And his love for the team is so infectious that when it comes down to crunch time, I'm Italian, I should be supporting Italy, but when I'm sitting next to him on the couch, I'm like, yeah, man, go Portugal. I hope they win too. I equate it to this. When I heard that cackle at the end of that trailer, it was like anything Star Wars for me, because I love it so much. Anything Star Wars is like soccer to my friend, because anything soccer he loves. But Star Wars with Palpatine involved is to him like soccer with Portugal involved. That's the way I feel it. And if you're a sports fan, then you know exactly what I mean. Yeah, you can, let's say you're a huge fan of the New York Knicks. You love the New York Knicks. You love basketball, but you love the New York Knicks. So you watch a basketball game, you have an amazing time. You're like, hey, that game was great. But you watch a Knicks game, and in the Knicks game, the Knicks win, you are on your feet. You are clapping and cheering. You might even be sweating a little bit. You are having an evening to remember. That, for me, is what it's like when Palpatine shows up. I'm not just watching a basketball game anymore. I'm watching a basketball game that has the Knicks in it, and they're winning. Because Palpatine always wins. Now, the fact that he was laughing in the trailer, the fact that his presence was revealed by the trailer, and the fact that Ian McDiarmid himself stepped out to sort of confirm this, it tells me that whatever Palpatine does in this film, it's going to be something more substantial than, say, the cameo we got of Yoda in The Last Jedi. That's just what I take away from it. If he's just got like a Yoda-level cameo in The Rise of Skywalker, then I don't think it was a smart idea to end the trailer with him laughing, because you're setting up false hope in that case. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think Palpatine has something much more substantial than that. So now the question that's buzzing around in everybody's mind is, well, what could that possibly be? Because when I showed this trailer to my friend, the same friend who likes soccer, he's a very, very casual viewer of Star Wars. He's seen them all once and that's it. When he heard the Emperor, he's like, wait a minute, he's dead. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, well, but he's dead, but he died. So what the F? And that's on a lot of people's minds right now. And it is 100% acceptable if that's on your mind right now, because we're all thinking the same thing. Okay, that's great, JJ. We're very happy. But what the F, bro? Palpatine dead. Okay, he dead. What's happening here? And of course, there are a million theories about what could be happening here. Everything from Sith Force ghosts to Horcruxes to clones to possession. There's so many different ideas. So what do I think? As a lover and expert on all things GVP, what do I think about the return of my favorite character and how is it going to come about? Here's the thing. I myself am a big advocate of dead is dead. I really am. I'm not a fan of characters dying and then being brought back to life by the miracle of plot convenience. I've said this to my friends many times before. I love Game of Thrones with all my heart and soul. I adore Game of Thrones. I can't wait to see how Game of Thrones ends. However, spoilers for like the past 4 seasons of Game of Thrones here. When Jon Snow died, that mofo should be dead. None of this thing where it's like, yeah, let's just bring him back because he's like one of the main heroes and he's like the handsome guy with the sword, so let's just bring him back. No. That mofo got stabbed. He should be very, very dead. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt because I haven't seen the end of Game of Thrones. So maybe his resurrection plays a very important part in the story. Maybe the story needed a character who was dead once to move something in the plot along, in which case I'll be like, that's fine. They needed a character who's essentially like a zombie. Fine, I understand that. But if Game of Thrones ends and it's just like, yay, Jon saved the day, and, you know, him being resurrected didn't really come into play, well, then it's like, well, you just resurrected a character. You just cured death. And the second you cure death without giving a proper logical reason to do so within your plot, other than we just want this character back, you lost me. I mean, look how many people were disappointed with Star Trek Into Darkness. I was digging it, but the second they were like, oh, hey, here's the cure for death. Let's bring Kirk back to life. So all of that emotional payoff that we had from killing off Kirk, the main character, throw it out the window. We have the cure. It's fine. Nobody's ever gonna die. You lost me. You lost me. Your stakes are 0 at that point. Same with comics. That's why I have a love-hate relationship with comics. You know what was really cool? Killing Superman. You know what was really not cool? Bringing back Superman from the dead. Because then why? Why am I paying money to read your stories? Why am I investing in a story that you clearly don't care about because you're just playing God willy-nilly instead of trying to reach an emotional payoff with me, with your readers? So having said that, as excited as I am, and I am on pins and needles to see my favorite Star Wars character again on the big screen, played by Ian McDiarmid, like everything I've ever wanted, I am 1% worried. I am 1% worried that this is going to be a situation of a cure for death. And I don't like that at all. If Palpatine fell down that shaft and blew up, and he's dead, and they just bring him back because why not? I'm going to have a problem with that. However, there are a myriad of ways that they could have Palpatine present. Again, whether it's Force Ghost, whether it's Holocron, whether it's possession, cloning, etc., that would A, not be just a cure for death so that we don't diminish the stakes of our saga, and B, be entertaining and done well and more or less make sense. I mean, when it gets to the point where you have a story where space wizards and little green Muppets are turning into shimmering ghosts and shooting lightning at trees, nothing makes sense anymore. We have to suspend our disbelief. What I don't want to see, what I'm sure nobody on this planet wants to see, is Rey and Finn and Poe walking into the ruins of that Death Star, and Palpatine's just kind of sitting there, and Rey and Finn and Poe are like, hey man, we thought you were dead. And he's like, nope. What's up? Nobody wants to see that, because that is a cheap cure for death. And frankly, I think that the storytellers at Lucasfilm are better than that. I think that they have more class, that they wouldn't do something so insulting to storytelling in general. So how do I believe Sheev Palpatine will return? In what form do I believe he will return? As of right now, if I had to venture a guess, I would say that when it comes to the Force, you have the light side and you have the dark, there is sort of an equivalent of every kind of Force power on both sides. Okay? What I mean by that is, like, take a look at The Last Jedi. Snoke, who is a dark side user, okay, he might not be a Sith, but he's a dark side user. Snoke created the whole Force Skype thing to make it appear as if Rey and Kylo Ren were standing in the same room as one another. And he did it in a way to bridge their minds and to sort of cause chaos. And on the other hand, Luke Skywalker, a light side user, did a very similar thing, making it appear as if he was in the same room as Kylo Ren for different reasons. And Luke's was so much stronger because he was coming at it from a light place. It was so much more believable that he was there in the room. However, it came at the cost of his life. And that is the trade-off. That we have learned over the years, over watching Star Wars movies, like, the difference between the light and the dark is that the dark side is not stronger. It is quicker, easier, and more seductive. That's what Yoda tells us in Empire. So Snoke can do essentially the same Force Skyping that Luke can, but he's doing it in a quick, easier, more seductive way. He's doing it in a way where he's creating this link between these two people, but they know there is a Force link. It's very fast. It's cobbled together fast. It's like the difference between something crafted out of metal and all kinds of moving parts and the exact same thing crafted out of cheap plastic. That's how I see it. Like, the dark side is the cheap plastic equivalent. It is a Happy Meal toy versus like a Kotobukiya metal resin statue. Like, it is quicker, easier, cheaper, more seductive, but not stronger. I believe that however Palpatine will return is sort of that idea. It's the dark side version of Force ghosts. All right, and what are Force ghosts? Well, from what we've learned in new canon, Force ghosts is essentially it's a method through which you meditate, pour your will into the Force, so that after you die, your body doesn't just sit there, whatever. You become one with the Force in all living things. So you're still maintaining a consciousness, just in a very different, crazy, outlandish way. And every once in a while, you can will the Force to give yourself a body, for lack of a better term, to commune with the living world. That's what Qui-Gon Jinn learned. That's what Obi-Wan and Yoda, and now we assume Luke, have all learned. They are using the Force to create the persona of their living self and communicating with the living world. All that meditation, though, all that sacrifice, that requires a great deal of meditation and sacrifice. And we all know the Sith are not the kind of people to do meditation and sacrifice. They are the dark side. They are quicker, easier, more seductive. So I believe, since this is pretty much the Jedi version of cheating death, Force ghosting is like, yeah, you're not going to die. You're not going to be gone. You're just going to be part of the Force now, scattered to the winds and the trees and the rocks and everything. The Sith version of that, I would assume, is just a quicker, easier, cheaper, plastic McDonald's Happy Meal version of Force ghosting. And what would that be? Well, to me, that would be something very similar to Voldemort's Horcruxes. Something where it's like, okay, I'm going to put a piece of my essence, a piece of my living Force into another person or into an object. And that way, even if my body's destroyed, I will live forever. What else would a Sith do to extend their life, to cheat death? Because the Jedi are not cheating death. They are embracing death and moving on to the next stage of life. They are accepting it as a part of life. It's not an end. It's a new chapter. The Sith fear death. Just like Voldemort feared death. Voldemort was terrified of death. The Sith would want to, avoid that as long as humanly possible. So they would find methods through which to cheat it. And if that method includes putting your body in something crazy, then yeah, they're going to try to do that too. That's just the way they roll. And again, maybe this is way too much like Voldemort. I don't know. But when you look at all the Sith, there's never really been a beautiful Sith Lord, has there? They're usually kind of grotesque, especially Sidious. Sidious is not an attractive looking, well, Ian McDiarmid is an attractive looking man. But Sidious does not look pleasant. And maybe that is a byproduct of this. Maybe when you take a piece of your soul out and put it somewhere else, it messes you up physically. Just look at Snoke. Snoke is not really a good-looking person either. Maybe he was at some point. I'm of the mind that Snoke was one of these, for lack of a better term, Sith Horcruxes that Palpatine put some of himself in. And I think that once upon a time, Snoke was a very beautiful-looking human being. Maybe possibly even a Matt Smith-looking human being. But as soon as Sheevy P's essence went into him, it messed him up and disfigured him and tainted him with the dark side of the Force, because the dark side is the pathway to many abilities some considered to be unnatural. That sounds pretty unnatural to me. Just saying. So yes, it's a lot like Voldemort. It's a lot like the Harry Potter series. I don't know if they're going to go that route because of that, because the comparisons are going to be inevitably drawn. But I mean, it is so Sith. It is so Sith that I can't think of anything more suited to the way they think. However, I'm sure that whatever the answer is going to be when we see the Rise of Skywalker, it's going to be something that I'm happy with. It's going to be something where I can sit there and be like, okay, I gotcha. Even if I'm totally 100% wrong and it's not that at all, and JJ holds up a little piece of paper that says, hey Andrew, your Palpatine theory sucks, I'll be okay with that as long as it doesn't turn into just Star Trek II, A Cure for Death. And I don't think that's the case, even though it has the same man behind it. But that has been Unleashed. That's been my thoughts on the whole Palpatine return. I am so happy he's coming back. I'm so happy we get to see his smiling face again one more time before the Skywalker saga draws to a close. How do you feel about Palpatine's emergence back into the swing of things? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you scared? Are you disappointed? I'm scared. I'm very scared because he is a evil Sith Lord and he can stir up some trouble. This movie better be 4 hours long, JJ, because you got a lot of stuff to cover, especially now that you're bringing back the villain to end all villains. But I'm Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for watching, Scumbags. Until next time, may the force of others be with you.
Hey Scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.